Hello and welcome to this episode of Focus On with myself, Fifi Peters. In today's episode, we are spotlighting Africa's fintech sector, the industry being supported by really strong fundamentals right now that should catalyze growth, such as the rise in digital transformation, a rapidly growing startup ecosystem, and also a young tech-savvy population. Unlocking Africa's fintech revolution, therefore, remains essential to the growth and development of Africa's payment systems for both consumers and businesses. Joining me for more on this is Visa's Senior Vice President, Head of Product Solutions and Digital Partnerships, Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa, Godfrey Sullivan. Godfrey, thanks so much for taking the time to join the show. By way of introduction then, let's start up by setting the scene on Visa's view of the current state of Africa's fintech sector and the kind of innovation that you are seeing taking place.
Thank you, Fifi. It's great to be here. And I just want to emphasize, it is such an exciting occasion. Visa has launched the FinTech Accelerator for Africa, reaching out to 2,000 fintechs across the continent, who are really the driving force behind financial inclusion and economic empowerment. And we together have brought together on the demo day today the very best of these fintechs in our second cohort demo day, together with all the venture capitalist players from across the continent. And we as a firm are super proud to be driving this innovation and be part of the broader objectives of financial inclusion across the continent.
You're sounding pretty excited about the space right now, perhaps particularly about the FinTech Accelerator Program that Visa has launched. So perhaps take us through the details of exactly how things will work with these startups that you have identified.
So firstly, cracking the challenge of financial inclusion and digital payments across the continent is such hard work. It is not easy at all. You have a complex payments ecosystem. You have regulatory requirements differing country by country. You have AML and compliance requirements. And you've got to run a business, make money, attract customers, and all of these things. So it's super tough for the entrepreneurs. And the Accelerator program has been designed to be kind of like a rocket booster to them, connecting them to founders who've done it before, connecting them to Visa experts who understand the payment ecosystem, connecting them to potential sources of funding to help support their growth. So it's really bringing together everything to be that rocket booster for fintechs across the continent.
For sure. And I mean, for fintechs who are watching this right now and are quite excited about potentially being rocket boosted in terms of their business, what is the criteria that you generally tend to look at when you identify these startups or these early stage fintechs that you hope to put through this program and partner with the key stakeholders to enable better growth for their businesses?
Yeah, great question. So we had in this cohort about 1,200 fintechs apply, and the bar is super high. And what we look at is the financial and social impact that these organizations can have across the continent. And so we're very broad in terms of the types of fintechs who can apply to the program. And we want to have a compelling solution to a very real practical problem, a management team that has credibility and passion and focus to make this happen. And these are our driving criteria. We're supporting through investment fintechs in payments, through HR systems, in identity and address verification, in supporting small businesses and restaurants make payments, in P2P payments across the continent. So a really broad range of sectors, but those key criteria of solving a real problem with a great solution and a great team is what we're looking for.
You mentioned a few of the known challenges that startups in all sectors generally tend to face: the access to sufficient finance, access to sufficient markets, and also access to sufficient skills and know-how. And you did highlight a bit of how you're trying to help the entrepreneurs in this program address those issues by partnering them with the relevant stakeholders to essentially help them grow. But perhaps you can speak more broadly about the challenges and who else needs to be on board to really build a thriving ecosystem for fintechs on the continent.
So I think there's a broader ecosystem that needs to be developed for the fintech. So as you say, there are many components that are involved in helping a fintech to be successful. They need to learn the lessons of others. That's why connecting them to founders is really, really important. They need to understand the nuances of regulations, AML, compliance, local regulations, which is where Visa's expertise can come in. They need to be able to understand from a technology point of view, what are the new trends coming? How can they capture and build on generative AI, the development of stable coins and stablecoin regulations? And so the FinTech Accelerator provides a program over the course of 3 months where we take 20 of these fintechs and run them through this program, and it's really culminating in the demo day that we have today in Cape Town, where they get to showcase the solutions that they've been working on to ourselves, the investment and the broader investment community.
Mm-hmm. I do know that you, as a Visa, have also recently announced a strategic investments in a few kind of fintechs, around 4 who graduated from your inaugural program. Perhaps maybe just give us a little bit of details about why you chose to particularly bet on these 4 and what you are hoping to achieve.
So these 4 are a really nice way of summarizing the breadth of fintech innovation across the African continent. So we have players such as OK High, which is developing super innovative solutions around a very specific problem of address verification, which is a real, very practical problem that many financial institutions have. We're working with Workday, that's looking at how to pay employees in a digital fashion. We also invested in a company called Order, which is looking at the 3 million or so small restaurants across the continent to provide a full digital service to them in managing their business and accepting Visa and digital payments. And then finally, there's a company called Oze, which is working with the banks and the financial community around how they can get more effective on using the data from payments to be able to lend to small businesses. And so these 4 are a good summary. We picked them because they're solving very real practical problems on the path to financial inclusion and the expansion of digital payments across the continent. And we look forward to the next cohort and the subsequent investments that we'll be making in order to help the sector develop. Perhaps
let's just also shift over to Outlook then, as we do talk about the digitization of the financial ecosystem in Africa. Yourself and other players just trying to play their part, and also modernizing, how the continent does conduct payments and moving the continent away from cash, which still remains king at this present moment in time. And I'd just like your outlook therein in terms of, how long you reckon it will take, or what you reckon it will take to accelerate the shift away from the cash ecosystem into digital.
So it is a journey which I can very strongly confirm is accelerating. So you historically have had a sector which has relied on the traditional banks in order to drive innovation, and they play an important role across the economy. But there's a whole raft of digital payments related problems that need to be fixed on a country by country, city by city basis. And these problems are very different. And so the fintech ecosystem is addressing these step by step. That journey will take years, but what we're seeing is a real acceleration. The quality of fintechs coming out of Africa is second to none. We're seeing innovation that is leapfrogging innovation that we've seen in other markets, whether it's North America or Europe. So although this is a journey of 3 to 4 to 5 years, we're super confident on that we're on the right path, and the Visa Africa Accelerator is really a driving force in helping to make that happen.
Sure, which also leads to a question around, I mean, how much more room the sector has to grow, or maybe more specifically around competition, because if we look at payments, there is a lot of startups who are playing in this field, solving for various issues when it does come to financial inclusion. And one has to wonder just how much more room there is to invite others. How far do you reckon we are from a saturation point in the sector? Do you reckon it's still early days?
So across the Central Europe, Middle East and Africa region, there is still about $2.2 trillion of cash spending on a per annum basis. So that's a long runway. That is going to take at least 7 to 8 years before we see cash being really reduced across the continent. Now, the speed at which that happens is going to vary greatly. So you have super bubbling fintech ecosystems in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Kenya, and in other of the markets where there is increasing competition. However, across the continent, we've still got this couple of $1 trillion of cash to be displaced. So plenty of opportunity and plenty of growth still to come.
Well, Godfrey, a good pointer to wrap up the conversation, but certainly an exciting one by way of really looking forward to some of the innovation that you spoke of that will be coming out of the space. Thanks so much for joining this episode of Focus On. My guest, the Visa Senior Vice President, Head of Products, Solutions and Digital Partnerships for Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa, Godfrey Sullivan. And from myself, Fifi Peters, thanks so much for watching as always, and it's bye for now.